Welcome to Nashville North Studios. Today we're doing a little video with Chuck Law. Hello! And his amazing one-man show that he's had here at Nashville North Studios for 2 months now. And we're going to be taking his work down, but we wanted to give you a chance to hear Chuck talk in his own words about his work and his journey through painting. And so we're going to say, welcome, Chuck.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And if you can see this video, you can view this one and other videos of Chuck's work on Nashville North Studios on YouTube. Please subscribe, and that way they will notify you of any new videos that are posted about our regional artists. So, Chuck, one of the questions that people always ask you is, did you always paint?
I believe I did. And it is one of the most common questions I get asked is, did I always paint? And I've been, I showed that picture before I can even remember when I got a little set of paints. And, I always had an inclination to draw. And I loved it. It was something I could do well. I didn't always do a lot of things really good, but I could draw it, and I got a lot of positive feedback for that. So.
About how old were you when you started to draw?
Oh, probably 5, 6. My mother has drawings when I was probably 2 or 3. A drawing, I used to draw whales.
Okay.
A whale with a little spout coming out. Those were my first drawings, and long before my memory started, I was drawing.
So by the sea.
Yes, usually fish and things like that.
Yeah. And you started out in France.
I did. I was born there. I don't think I was drawing in France. We came back before I was 2. And we lived here in South Jersey for a while, and then we moved to Virginia, where I did most of my growing up.
And you came back here when you were around 20?
Yeah, I was 20, just not too long before my 21st birthday. My father was in the Navy, and he retired in 1980 and came back to, our family roots here because he wanted to become a commercial fisherman, which he's done ever since. And here we are.
And you currently live in Linwood.
I live in Linwood.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have a lot of family here, too.
I do. I live right up the street from the house it's now my aunt and uncle's house, but it's also the old house that I grew up in. It was my grandparents' house when I was growing up, so I did spend my summers and holidays were always here in Linwood.
That was one of the Summers mansions,
Yes, it
wasn't
was. Built in the 1700s. Beautiful old place, 5 fireplaces.
Brick.
Brick, just an amazing house.
Really lovely.
Yeah, huge fireplace in the kitchen.
So,
really neat.
Why did you start making art?
As I said, there was positive feedback, and I just seemed to have a natural inclination.
Well, you were shy, weren't you, when you were very young? So was it a way for you to express yourself?
It certainly was. When I was, little, I didn't speak much, and then of course I blossomed once I learned to read and things like that in school. But I loved drawing and making art.
And who influences you in your art?
When I was a kid, my grandparents had a book by Andrew Wyeth, so he was one of the first that I remember looking at. And my grandfather started painting later in life, and he certainly influenced me. There was a lot of my family here in South Jersey were hunters, and there was a whole background of that type of art, of ducks and hunting scenes and things like that. And my grandfather was a carver. He did wood carvings. He did a lot of woodwork, and then he started painting a little later in life. And I certainly can remember seeing him in the garage over here in Linwood, working away on his oils and thinking, I want to do that.
So that smell of the oil paint itself is a nice memory.
Yeah, because then it was turpentine back in the 60s. And, I can remember in the, they had this fireplace in the kitchen in the house over here in Linwood, and taking bits of charcoal out of the, because there was a bench by the fireplace, and taking charcoal out of the fireplace and drawing on my tablet with my first charcoals.
Yeah,
So,
that's wonderful. Yeah. And what styles have you worked in? You've gone through a transition, different, let's say, call them different series. You've done different series.
You know, when I was young, like when I was a kid learning, I wanted to work for Walt Disney. I thought animation was the greatest thing, and you know, I think a lot of young men go through that. And then by the time I hit high school and started art classes and things like that, I was really fascinated with abstract expressionism. You know, my grandmother, when I was a kid, had a jigsaw puzzle of Jackson Pollock, and to this day, I love Jackson Pollock. So once I got into taking classes in you know, high school, I tried everything. I tried abstraction. I loved surrealism. I loved the work I just mentioned not long ago. Roger Dean, who did you know, these fanciful landscapes and things like that. I like science fiction type drawings. And
O'Keeffe.
O'Keeffe did not come until my senior year in high school.
Okay.
My parents sent me on I took this trip to the Southwest. It was a travel study program. It was for 3 months. We traveled throughout the Southwest on the bus, and we camped out every night. And I fell in love with the Southwestern landscape, Santa Fe, New Mexico. I just, and of course, I probably knew about Georgia from my classes, but when I came back from that trip, my senior year in high school, I was doing these big O'Keeffe type paintings. And also my high school art teacher was a big influence. Myrna Amdursky was her name then, now it's Tech. She was an O'Keeffe, she was doing O'Keeffian type work as well. So yeah, I love Georgia.
Wonderful. So you went to school in high school in Virginia.
Yes.
And then after high school, where did you go?
After high school, I moved to North Carolina. I had a lot of problems in high school. I had substance abuse problems. I was heavily into drugs and things like that. I was accepted to Virginia Commonwealth University, which is one of the better art schools on the East Coast. And I just could not get my act together to get there, you know. And I applied 3 times and was accepted 3 times, and I never went. And for a long time I regretted that. And but you know, God had a different path for me, and I no longer have any regrets that I didn't have that college education.
Well, if I could interject here, just one little thing, and I remember it so well that Miss O'Keeffe said that she had to forget everything she was taught so she could begin to paint her own way. Yes. So that's almost a gift that you have had. You do things your own way. Yes,
I labeled myself as self-taught for a long time. I no longer do that because I've studied with some pretty good
but
artists.
Still, you have your own style.
Well, yes,
and
of
we
course.
Hear
I think
that
anybody that makes art on a consistent basis, inevitably your own style is going to come out. As far as representational work goes.
So you were also, you had transitioned from, so you had a regular job and you were painting on the side as a hobby, and then you decided to really dedicate yourself to painting.
I did. I always, in the back of my mind, I thought, I just want to be an artist when I grow up. Excuse me, but one of my long-term careers, because I did have a couple, was as a florist. I was a floral manager and for a local florist and heavily involved in that. That was a great creative outlet for a long time. But you can only go so far with flowers, and I was still making art on the side and still have that dream of being what I call a grown-up or a professional artist. Yeah.
Wonderful. And now you do a lot of plein air work.
I do. When I first decided I was going to go professional, and I should tell this story, I injured my back after I had been in the floral career for about 15 years. And it was not easy to give up that career. However, I was being forced to find something else to do, and I thought, this is my chance. My partner was very supportive and told me I could take a year off and see if I could start establishing myself as a professional artist, and I jumped at the opportunity. And I know that one thing I mentioned on there was going from what I was painting back then. One of my biggest concerns was being original. I wanted to make art. I had the idea that I wanted to make art that no one else had seen before, and something unique. And that's I was doing still lifes, and that's how the Scatter series of the still life paintings came along. These aerial views of objects, very carefully painted, very trompe-l'oeil. I had in the back of my mind that I liked doing landscapes, but when I was debating on how I was going to present myself professionally, I thought there are a billion landscape painters out there, and I just don't want to be one of the crowd. I really had concerns to stand out. But I started doing these daily paintings. That first year that I went professional, I joined the blogosphere, and daily paintings were a big thing then. You did these little 5x7s, and you painted one every day, a completed painting, usually spending a couple of hours on it. And that, first of all, is how I really learned how to paint with oil paints. If you do a little painting every day, you will definitely learn how to paint. And what happened was the still lifes kind of reached a point. The inspiration was going. They were flat. I wanted to do something a little more dimensional, a little more challenging. And I went outside. I started painting little flowers in the garden. Of course, being a florist, and I just fell in love with it when to be working outdoors instead of inside in a studio. I mean, I was doing these still lifes where they were either on the floor or whatever, and I was bent over and very secluded, and going outside in nature because I love nature. And it was a terrific experience. It also opened up for sales, for professionally. I found that people were relating to my work as they did not with these still life paintings. People are like, "Oh, I've been there," or "Oh, I know this place." You've captured a memory, and I was making this connection with people that I had no idea was going to happen when I started painting outdoors. People would approach me. I was painting on the Ocean City boardwalk of the beach. Suddenly, I'm out in the world, and I'm not hidden away, and it just seemed to have a positive reinforcement in my work and in my whole relationship. Professionally as an artist, really great. Really surprising thing to have.
And now you travel and paint. You go to different paint outs.
Yes, I was doing a lot of competitions. That was when I started doing the plein air. I realized that there were opportunities there that I did not have otherwise. These competitions, and in my how to be an artist book, it's like one way to put yourself out there was to enter competitions, and the point wasn't exactly always to win, but to get out there, to meet other artists, to be involved in the professional community, to travel. And I traveled up and down the East Coast, and I was winning some, so of course that helped, and making sales and making a name for myself, and that's a great experience. I still love to
and now you teach some too.
And I do teach,
yes.
And to me that's a real blessing.
I know your students love you.
Thank you. I started teaching at the Ventnor Cultural Arts Center. It'll be 10 years this fall. I was a little uncertain about how good I would be at teaching, and but apparently I have an knack for that, according to my students.
Yes.
Because I have a love, and if you have a love and a passion about a thing, and you can transmit that to people, people know that. And I think it's been a success story. I love passing on what I've learned. And continue to learn. I learn now, and I tell my students this, they don't believe it, but I learn as much from them as I do from myself, and it always makes me a better artist. I say when I'm out there painting by myself in the fields with nature, I can hear my teacher voice telling me, you should be painting this way or that, and the critique in my head is fine-tuned.
Well, we're lucky enough to have some of your students share their work here as well.
Yes, I have.
So they are part of the community, the fabric of the art community.
Yeah.
They're overjoyed to finally be able to realize their dream.
Oh, absolutely.
Which you have enabled, enabling can be a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. Supporting them, and many of them are fine artists in their own right.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky to.
So would you like to talk about any of the work on the wall?
Oh, well, we could talk a little bit. As we said before the interview started, do you want?
Well, let's see.
You
can get up. You can get up. Sure. Here, I'll move the camera a little bit.
As I had said before we started here, I like this wall the best, and of course the reason why I like this wall of art the best is because it's the most current work. And most artists I know for myself, my favorite painting is usually the painting that I have just completed. As long as it's a successful piece, that's the one I love the most until I move on to the next. So naturally, when I see things that I've done, this is probably my most recent larger painting. Larger for me because doing plein air, one of the things I like doing about plein air is working small. I like the instant gratification of, being able to do a small painting, within one sitting. That's another reason why I like plein air. But I do enjoy studio work. I do enjoy studio work as well. This is the harbor in Villefranche-sur-Mer, where I was born. It's looking out towards Cap Ferrat. It's on the French Riviera. I was able to go back there with my father 2 years ago. He took me back to show me where I was born, and I wasn't sure I wanted to go, and because it was a little frightening, and I had no connection really because we left when I was young. But I was so entranced by this. By the French Riviera and the people,
breathtaking.
The people and the beauty, and what a dream to go there. I do what I call if you can lower it a little bit, there we go. This one, which is right over here off of Summers Point. One thing I do, and I'm not sure if it's traditional plein air, but I do like working off of. The dashboard of my car. I like having an old car.
Sorry.
That's all right. We're actually pretty good. We're actually doing pretty good. I like working off the dashboard of my car. I'm getting older. I'm getting tired.
Is that one of them from the dashboard?
That's a little bit large. Usually I do smaller paintings on a clipboard. And, but I like, I gotta have an old car to do that because it can get messy. But I enjoy convenience when I'm working now. I used to like to hike out a ways and carry things.
Not so much.
I'm getting a little older and a little more attached to my comfort. I enjoy painting in the comfort of my garden, of course, and things that are a little easier. And another example would be right from my driveway. I have a beautiful view that goes right over past Mainland High School towards, this is a tree line, a Patcon Creek, one of my favorite spots. And, people sometimes ask me if they can go out painting with me, and I say, well, I never know when I'm going to go. And, usually it's something like very rapid. I will decide, I look out the window, I see a beautiful sunset, I happen to have my paint box ready. It's a good thing to keep your paint box ready, and I can dash out and do a painting really quick. And those are often some of the best pieces because they capture the spontaneity of the moment.
Too. Yeah,
there we go. We got the word out, and and I do tend to paint a lot of the same scenes. I have about 5 spots I have within a 10-mile radius, and I'll just pack up my stuff in my little kit bag and go around and Patcon Creek, over by Dog Beach, places that I can access easily. You know, I spent my first couple of years plein air painting, spending a lot of time just driving around. So it took me time to find these places.
So we gave close-up views of all of those paintings, the ones that are here, and the ones that have sold.
Yes.
Are also on YouTube in the original video that we did of your show.
Yeah, it's a great video.
Yeah.
You did a really good job.
Yeah. So, would you like to talk about any more?
No, not really.
Okay.
You know, I think we'll stay away from the dark side.
Okay.
Mentioning the dark side, one of my subject matters, I do like falling apart buildings. I believe that when it comes to my architectural work, I believe that old houses and buildings that have been lived in and are going back into the earth, I think they have great character. I love to do paintings of them. They do, unfortunately, not sell very well. So I have a whole attic full of these paintings like these old houses and falling down buildings.
Yeah.
And, well, yeah, a good number of them. You know.
We'll have to go up there and dig some out.
But yeah, well, we dug this one out for the earth, and I love, you know, like even in this painting up here, and yeah, you can see this. My favorite thing from the scene was this one on the end that's falling into the marshes.
Yeah,
It's tilting right in. That's really appealing to me. And,
so, and you do several from Linwood Arboretum.
Yes.
Yes, there's one behind
you.
Do
we have one in here? Yes.
Yeah.
I love the Linwood Arboretum, and I have been lucky enough to donate some work to them in the past as a support. And this one is a crepe myrtle tree. Before it's blooming, I just was very attracted to the smoothness of the bark. And once again, it was a convenient spot. I could park right there, set up my stuff, and set up my gear and paint. Most of these scenes are all right around the house. This is all, you know, off pond, right by Mainland High School. Patcon Creek to the left of it. One of my favorite spots locally is, of course, the bridge over Patcon Creek between Linwood and Egg Harbor Township. It's very convenient, and I just love the view. There's a good view south, or east and west, and many paintings in that spot.
Paintings.
Yes, many.
Well, thank you very much. It's been wonderful to chat with you today.
Thank you.
And to share this with our YouTube viewers and our regional artists who I'm sure will clamor to see it.
I hope I made some sense.
I think you did. It's beautiful, and as you can see, Chuck's work is stunning. And if you see anything that you might like to have for your own collection, we're more than happy to help you with that. Just let us know. You can reach us by telephone at 609-504-5044 or stop in because we're now allowed to be open. We're open most afternoons, starting at 1 o'clock until 5 o'clock. You could call first to make sure we're here and make an appointment. And this coming Friday, we will be unfortunately replacing Chuck's work this week with the work of Susan Ireland, and we'll be having an opening for Susan by reservation only. So thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Judy.
And we'll look forward to seeing more of your work at Nashville North Studios.
Wonderful.